Masked youths attacked police Land Rovers, throwing petrol bombs. Cars have also been hijacked and set alight. The violence follows an apprentice boy parade in the city earlier today.
A depressingly familiar scene. Northern Ireland endures yet more rioting over the summer. Images beamed around the world. Communities left broken, and we are still counting the cost. The 12th of July, police come under attack from nationalist rioters. 16 police officers are injured during the intense trouble which lasted almost. Trouble over the summer wasn't confined to Ardoyne, and it wasn't related to parades. On June the 20th, the UVF flexed its muscles in East Belfast. 2 nights of rioting was the worst this area has seen for years. Homes on both sides of the divide were attacked, as well as loyalist terrorists. Dissident Republicans also stoked up trouble.
It is a bit depressing. We think you're on a journey.
And clearly that money had to be spent to keep the peace, and we shouldn't allow that rioting to take place in the future, and therefore we need stiff sentences. The people who have done this to be severely punished.
If we had confidence that we didn't require the degree of capacity, capability.
For money to deal with the dissident threat, but like every other public sector, they are still facing cuts. So every penny counts, and people want to see their money well spent.
Ardoyne has been the scene of intense rioting over residents being lifted off the road in Ardoyne by police in riot gear. Officers moved in after 7 o'clock to start to clear the sit-down protest, which was being staged by around 60 nationalist protesters. It had begun almost 4 hours earlier. As the operation continued, police came under attack from youths throwing stones, bricks and petrol bombs. Police responded with water cannon and plastic bullets. Just before 8:30, the Orange Lodges made their way up Woodvale Road, flanked by riot police. As they approached Ardoyne shops, police tried to provide cover, shielding the Orange men from a barrage of missiles, of stones and bottles. But some of the missiles got through.
Got it with a brick coming past the Ardoyne shops, so it's only to be expected. Like, we have to respect their culture, but they don't respect ours, you know.
Sinn Féin say the violence was orchestrated by outsiders. The march has passed, but just before 10 o'clock tonight, trouble resumed, with water cannon once again turned on the rioters. UTV understands a police officer has been seriously injured. A heavy police presence in Ardoyne last night. The interface in North Belfast, which has been the scene of serious and sustained rioting in the past. It had been hoped the Orange Order Tour of the North would pass off peacefully this year, following talks between residents' groups. But trouble erupted after a feeder parade was rerouted to avoid the nationalist area near the Ardoyne shopfronts. Sinn Féin insists the disturbances could have been avoided. The violence erupted after marchers handed over a letter of protest to police at Woodvale Parade. Bricks, bottles and stones were then thrown by protesters at the top of Tweddell Avenue. Police in riot gear moved in to try and control the situation. They've since confirmed 4 of their officers suffered minor injuries. In a statement today, the PSNI said the response had been balanced and proportionate and that their priority was to protect communities while upholding the ruling of the Parades Commission. Last night will be seen as a worrying development so early in the marching season, with more contentious parades in the coming weeks.
For the second night running, the streets of East Belfast were turned into a war zone. Loyalist and nationalist youths again clashed at the interface at the lower Newtonards Road. Police vehicles came under attack from close quarters. The PSNI responded with water cannon, and in all 66 baton rounds were fired. As darkness fell, the trouble showed no sign of abating. Fireworks lit up the night sky and pavements were littered with petrol bombs. Then, just after midnight, shots rang out. A press photographer was struck on the leg. Eyewitnesses say the gunman was spotted at a fence at Strand Walk on the nationalist side of the divide.
I just happened to glance over the wall, and I saw the front part of a pistol. And I wasn't sure if it was just a cap gun or a real gun. But when I saw the hand come over, I yelled to all my colleagues, all the other still photographers, that it was a gun. And so we all just turned around and started running. As I turned around, I glanced back again and I saw just a head and another hand moving the gun back and forth. And as I was running, I heard pop, 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 pop about five or six times.
A 20-year-old woman was arrested during the rioting. Police are promising more arrests will follow. Containing the violence may be the immediate task, but everyone knows finding a solution is the real goal.
These are the latest pictures from the top of Brompton Park in Ardoyne, where the police have come under sustained attack from rioters hurling petrol bombs, fireworks, bricks, bottles and slates. A car has been hijacked and set on fire. The police have responded with water cannon and baton rounds. The trouble followed a nationalist protest. The parade itself passed off peacefully. There was a silent protest by another residents' group, Cara. The first of the trouble flared as the GARC group, which numbered around 300 people, began their march in Estoril Park. The police came under attack with slates, bottles, bricks and fireworks. The police again responded with water cannon and baton rounds. The protesters then made their way to Brompton Park, where there was another standoff with the police. This time petrol bombs were among the many missiles hurled at police lines. Back on the Crumlin Road, Loyalist residents, flanked by stewards, stood at the top of Twiddell Avenue. The police moved in to clear rioters from the top of the Ardoyne shops as efforts were made to clear the main Crumlin Road and quell the trouble. Some officers were briefly set alight by the dozens of petrol bombs which have been thrown here. Ardoyne on the 12th night, and nationalist views attack the police after an orange parade marches through the interface. It's scenes like this which the First and Deputy First Ministers do not want to be beamed across the world, which damages Northern Ireland's reputation as they try to encourage investment. Deputy First Minister, who visited Ardoyne before the 12th, says everyone has to redouble their efforts to resolve the problem. Peter Robinson insists people who are involved in activity like this have nothing to offer society, as the community has overwhelmingly decided it wants to move forward.
The sound of gunfire in the early hours of this morning. It was amid scenes of some of the worst rioting East Belfast has seen for years. Tensions have been simmering for weeks between the two communities, and they exploded last night. What we know so far is that at around 9 o'clock last night, up to 100 mass loyalists, armed and many wearing surgical gloves, attacked Catholic homes in the Short Strand area.
Heard thuds. The film. There was that many of them. They were like ants just coming from everywhere.
Before long there was hand-to-hand fighting, stone throwing, followed by petrol bombs and eventually live gunfire from both sides.
I've spoken to defences because the people who lived in them were pained in the back by the actions of the way the police have chosen to police this.
Police have confirmed that shots were fired by both sides and that two young men from the loyalist side of the interface were treated in hospital for gunshot wounds. On the nationalist side, a Catholic man needed hospital treatment when a block was dropped on his head. His brother didn't want to appear on camera.
He was hit on the head with what they say was a quarter of a concrete block, which knocked him unconscious, has now left him in hospital with a fractured skull.
But both sides suffered in a night which saw people forced to seek refuge with friends and family. Within the last hour, the First and Deputy First Minister met the Chief Constable, a clear sign of how serious this violence is being viewed.
Rioting erupts in North Belfast after Orange Men parade past the Ardoyne shop fronts. For 4 nights, police come under sustained attack. Petrol bombs thrown, cars hijacked and set alight, and shots fired at police lines during some of the worst rioting in Northern Ireland in recent times. No music is to be played in both the morning and evening parades. No flags or banners are to be displayed, and while no more than 100 supporters are allowed to accompany the morning parade, they've been banned from walking with the Orangemen for the evening march.
On the Protestant community's cultural tradition.
There's been no response so far to the Parade's Commission ruling from Sinn Féin or the Crumlin and Ardoyne Residents Association. The Parade's Commission has granted permission for a residents' protest in the area during the return parade, but again with restrictions placed. Today's determination mirrors that of last year. The Parade's Commission says it accepts that the likelihood of disorder exists in any case and is calling on all those with influence to reduce the potential for violence.